Hi, everybody. Today I have Trace Althoff, the Regional Director of Admission for Xavier University with me today. And I'm excited that you're here, Trace. We've actually been able to meet in person, but I'm thrilled that we can do this remotely as well. So thank you for agreeing to chat with us about Xavier today.
Thanks, Kristina. Of course, I'm happy to be here. Hopefully next year or maybe even later this year, we'll be able to sit down in person and obviously be able to work with our students. But thankful for the virtual opportunity. Obviously, I work at Xavier University, which is a Jesuit Catholic school located in Cincinnati, Ohio. So for those of us who are in the Cleveland area, it's about a 3.5 hour ride down Interstate 71 to Dana Avenue. And as I mentioned, Xavier is a Jesuit school. It's one of the 27 Jesuit colleges and universities located in the United States. But students that do attend Xavier come from all over the world. So this year's incoming class is students from all 50 states and from 26 different countries. So we're pretty proud of our diversity on campus and the opportunity to afford students to continue their education in Cincinnati, Ohio. At Xavier University, we're a liberal arts college. We have over 90 major areas of study. Some of our more popular areas of study at Xavier University are nursing, sports management. Our business program is very large. And then we do have students that do study anywhere in the liberal arts areas, the sociologies, the psychologies, the philosophies. We have a school of education on campus. And I think the unique thing about Xavier outside of being Jesuit is the fact that we're located in a major city in the United States. So we have the best of both worlds, in my opinion. We have a campus and surrounding community that houses 5,000 undergraduate students. We do have a 2-year residency hall requirement for our first and second year students, and housing will be provided for them on campus. So the students get the best of both worlds. They have a campus, which is very active, very lively, with events and activities, whether it be movies or programs or service organizations on campus, or going to the Cintas Center, which is right next door to the Residence Hall Village, to see the Musketeers play basketball or volleyball right on campus. But outside of that, you have the city of Cincinnati to explore. And one thing as a native Clevelander that really surprised me when I started working at Xavier a couple of years back was the amount of opportunities in Cincinnati. As a Browns fan, I always take Cincinnati and always thought of it as a city that I would never want to spend time in, but that's not the case.
And you're admitting you're a Browns fan.
I'm sorry?
You're openly admitting you're a Browns fan.
Oh, yes.
You really
I
are
was born into it, Kristina, so I have no choice. But Cincinnati itself is a top 30 media market in the United States. So especially for our students that are interested in marketing, business area, or broadcasting, journalism, it's a great opportunity to continue studying. For our students who perhaps are interested in some of our pre-medical professional programs or nursing, Cincinnati is a very large medical hub in the tri-state area, that being the southern end of Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky. So Tri-Health is actually a partner with us on campus, and we just opened up a new building last year, which is called the Health United building on campus. It's half recreational sports, so a brand new rec center for our students. And then the other half is pre-medical offices, laboratories, nursing classrooms, and it's really state of the art. When I first took the tour of that building, I was pretty surprised. They have hospital rooms that are set up with, they call dummies, but the professors can actually program the dummies to react in certain ways. For example, when we were there, they put one of the dummies into cardiac arrest so that the students have that experience prior to doing some of their clinical rotations. So Cincinnati itself, outside of the educational opportunities, also offers students additional social opportunities, whether it be catching a Reds game on a Friday night for $2 with you and your friends from Xavier, or being able to go grab a bite to eat downtown. And the best part is our campus is only about 10 minutes away from downtown Cincinnati. So we are located in Cincinnati proper, as I mentioned, and the city of Cincinnati is very accessible for students to explore. And it does, like I said, afford students the opportunity to do some educational work and social work outside of the traditional classroom structure in the college environment.
Trace, is there any kind of public transportation or transportation from campus to the downtown area?
There is. So the university will offer transportation on the weekends to various spots throughout the city. And then the weekend in college, starts on Thursday.
Yeah.
So Thursday evening to some of the more popular night spots for some of our older students. There's transportation available to and from, and they would just get picked up on campus. And that runs every half hour on the half hour. The university offers transportations to the airports. So for example, not that a kid from the Cleveland area would have to hop a plane to get back, but let's say you were going on a spring break with your friends, or we're doing a service trip. The university will provide transportation to and from the airport for you. And they also provide transportation on the weekends to grocery stores, Walgreens, if you need to pick up snacks for your residence hall room, or if you just need to pick up a prescription or whatever you need to do. But public transportation is available. The Greater Cincinnati Regional Transit Authority, much like the RTA up here, has buses, and then downtown they have the streetcar that goes through much of the downtown area, so students can navigate the city pretty easily. Students are welcome, even first-year students, if they have a vehicle, they are welcome to bring a vehicle to campus. And it's actually a pretty nominal fee. When I first started at Xavier, I was pretty surprised. It's only $150 for the whole year to park on campus.
Oh, wow.
But again,
there's no expensive.
Yeah, there's no need to bring a car. This past year, we had 108 students enroll from the Northeast Ohio area. So that's Cuyahoga, Lake, Geauga, Stark, getting down into that Akron area. So pretty much from Cedar Point to Pennsylvania and down into the Worcester area. So we had a very good year at Xavier. And I'm very pleased to let you guys know that we actually welcomed our second biggest class in Xavier history this year. We're pretty excited about having the students on campus. And the students actually started classes in person on campus on August 17th. So just this past Monday. For any student that's interested in the university in the Northeast Ohio area, I will be the guy that works with the student and the family throughout the whole process. So I'm the guy that will read your application, will make recommendations for scholarships. And on top of that, I live in Cleveland. So for any family that is local and is interested in the institution, I'm happy to talk with them virtually or via the phone, or whatever way is most convenient for them, or even in person. I'll meet in someone's backyard to make Xavier an opportunity that they can explore and hopefully pursue for their bachelor's or undergraduate degree. Now, applying to Xavier is very simple. We subscribe to the Common Application, which, as you know, Kristina opened up a few weeks back. So it's open and it's live. So if anyone out there is looking at this video and is like, man, that guy from Xavier really got me excited, you can go ahead and begin your Common Application. Xavier was test optional prior to all the pandemic that has happened over the last six months. So we went test optional the year prior. So we are test optional. What that means is a student does not have to submit an SAT or an ACT test score as part of their application unless they are applying to the School of Nursing. The School of Nursing is working with the state of Ohio to modify some of the requirements, and that may change, but it has not changed as of yet. So a student, when they complete the Common Application, all they would have to do is list Xavier. They would put a request in at their high school for official transcripts to be sent to the institution. We would like a recommendation from one of their counselors. So Kristina, that could be from you if you're working with the families. They can also get a recommendation directly from a teacher that they're very comfortable with at their high school. They can get a recommendation from a coach. Essentially what I tell folks is, and young people, is ask the teacher or individual at your high school that, number one, you're comfortable with, and number two, that you have a good relationship with. And then also ask them, a week or two in advance. Don't give them 15 minutes to submit a recommendation because they do a lot of work, not only to prepare for the classroom, but in helping their students matriculate to universities. And then
especially during this time.
Especially during this time. And then the last thing we would, that I like to look at is I encourage the students to include some type of extracurricular resume. And that can be, as you know, the Common App has area for that, or some students will put together an actual physical resume, whichever they're most comfortable with. I'm going to steal a line from one of my colleagues. My job as an admissions officer is to help facilitate a family to be admitted to the school. So last year at Xavier, we had 15,000 applications. Of those 15,000 applications, almost 11,000 students were offered admission to the school. So I never want to be a denial officer. I want to work with the families and if Xavier is the place that they want to pursue, do everything in my power, not only, number one, to get them admitted into the institution, number two, give them the information to make a informed decision, and then three, make sure it makes sense for not only the student, but also the family. I never want a parent or a mom or a dad or grandma and grandpa sitting at home here in Cleveland, wearing brown paper bags and eating Spam, while little Johnny or Cindy is down at Xavier living the high life on campus. We are rolling admissions, Kristina, so typically we'll start reading applications right around October 1st. And once your application's complete, typically about a 2-week turnaround to receive your admissions information. And in that admissions information, that'll also include your initial scholarship offer. Now, tuition at Xavier this academic year for students is $55,700. Not one soul on campus pays $55,700. So especially for students in the Northeast Ohio area, what our goal at Xavier is to essentially make Xavier very comparable to what some of our in-state tuition schools would charge for students. I know not a lot of families have, a pile of money in their basement, so we need to make this as economically affordable as possible. So in your admissions letter, so for Kristina's admissions letter, it'd say, congratulations, Kristina, you've been accepted into the program of your choice. And for the next 4 years, you will receive this amount of money towards your educational experience. Last year, the scholarship range just through the admissions process was between $16,000 and $25,000. So we really do try to make the cost of Xavier affordable and accessible to all students who may be interested. Outside of that, as far as financial assistance, additional scholarships, the big deadline I always try to pound into people's heads, even though we are rolling admissions, is December 1st. December 1st is going to be our priority deadline for scholarship. So that priority deadline meaning your admission scholarship. And then typically for any of our honors colleges, other specific scholarships that would go through other departments on campus, whether it be through the School of Business, School of Nursing, College of Arts and Sciences, or the School of Education, they will also subscribe to a December 1st deadline as well. Now, in your admissions packet, it'll include some information about the other scholarships on campus. And those other scholarships could go all the way up to full tuition cost, depending upon the scholarship that you're pursuing. So those can be academic scholarships. We do offer 5 St. Francis Xavier scholarships a year, which is a full ride. That's full tuition and full room and board for 5 students. We also have service scholarships. We have leadership awards. So again, we really want to incentivize the student going through the process with us. Now, much like most of the other schools in the United States, we have a priority deposit deadline of May 1st. So I'm never going to show up to your house, put you in a headlock and say, you have to let me know if you're going to Xavier. We want to give you the most time that you and your family need in order to interact with our staff. Also have the opportunity to visit campus. We'll have programming, not only in the fall, but hopefully even more programming in the spring to give your family all the information that they would need to make an informed decision.
So as part of the application process, Trace, are you encouraging or requiring admission interviews at all?
Now, we will do some interviews, but that is not a requirement through the process. The big requirement, as I mentioned, is the application, the writing prompt through the Common App, your academic transcript, and then, of course, your extracurricular opportunities, and finally, your recommendations from your counselors or your teachers. In most cases, for example, I did about 20 specific interviews last year, and that was for a student that perhaps was trying to garner admission to the School of Nursing, which is a direct admit program, and they may have been on the border of being admitted. So we went ahead and had an interview with them in order to make sure that that would be an appropriate fit. So that could be a case for an interview. The only other time you would see an interview as part of the process is if a student is a finalist for one of those big scholarships. The St. Francis Xavier will have an interview component. The Center for Peace and Justice, through their scholarship and service awards, will have a interview component, but there is no interview process required specifically for gaining admission to the school. Got
it. But students, it sounds like if students just want to have a conversation with you, they can do that. They can just have a non-evaluative type of introduction to Xavier with
Absolutely. And Kristina, we've gotten to know each other well over the last couple of years. You know, I'm very low key. I want to make the families as comfortable as possible. I've been around the block in this business on both the high school and the college side of things. So I want to give I want to put them at ease, this, especially for a family that this be their first son or daughter going off to college, or maybe they haven't done it in a while. And especially after all the events in this past year, things have changed a little bit. I try to make myself as accessible as possible. So students can always reach out to me. As I mentioned before, I'm happy to stop at their homes. We can meet at a Starbucks. If any student would ever want my cell phone number, I'll go ahead and forward that to you, Kristina, after we're done today. And students text me, parents text me, you know, at even random hours of the night. You know, we got this email from the FAFSA, and I have no idea what it means. And that 30-second text exchange can really put a parent or a student's mind at ease. This is a big decision. You know, these young people are, you know, on the precipice of making some very large decisions, not only personally, but also preparing to make some decisions towards their professional life. And my job is to make that as easy as possible and give them as much information as possible.
That's awesome. I love that. And I think that it's also a good, you know, in terms of looking at the community at Xavier, and I've been to Xavier many times and have had lots of applicants over the years, but it's true that the community piece there is really important, meaning it really does feel, the way that you are presenting Xavier, I feel like that's what the students will also feel once they're on campus. And that's really important, that there's that trust and comfort, like you said, for families, especially, like, you know, as you mentioned, if it's a family where it's the first time, you know, they're sending a child to to college, or a student who's just, you know, through this, especially during this time, is just incredibly nervous about all the things that exist. It's nice to have somebody that they can just come to with those questions that maybe they would normally not ask.
Right. And I think even for the students, we put in a number of safety nets once they arrive on campus, so that not only are they comfortable, but they're thriving. So much like most colleges, depending upon what the student would like to study, they will be assigned an academic advisor through their academic department. Now, the interesting caveat with Xavier is about 40% of our students come in what we call the exploratory program, meaning, and I don't know about you, Kristina, when I was 18 years old, I thought I was going to be a business tycoon. But when I arrived on campus, I figured out I had to get through calculus. Well, myself and math, they might as well put it in German, because I just don't understand. It just doesn't click with me. So I entered, much like an exploratory program, whereas you're going through your core requirements at the university. So your English classes, your theology classes, your foreign language, your philosophies, your sociologies, and elective classes. And then it's hopefully through that discernment and taking those classes that you'll be able to find an academic area of interest. Now, if a student comes in as an exploratory student, even if they don't declare a major to their junior year, they're still on pace to graduate in 4 years' time. So that won't add an extra year, and we won't be taking an extra year's of tuition out so long as they go ahead and make that decision by the end of their second year. But as I was mentioning, they will have an academic advisor. So that person's responsible for making sure they're hitting those benchmarks when they are on going through their academic experience. Then we also have what's called success coaches at Xavier. And success coaches deal with a number of things. Not only one, focusing on the mental health of the students. Right. It can be a stressful time for an 18-year-old young person making the move not only out of the house, but to another city. Cleveland is not too far away from Cincinnati, but you're far enough away where you just can't skip home, right. And spend, 15, 20 minutes, beating up your brother or having lunch with your dad. It would be a commitment to come back. So we want to make sure the student's making a successful social transition. Are they getting involved in activities? Are they stressed out about things? How do you do laundry at Xavier? Things to answer those type of questions. And then the students that come from Northeast Ohio are lucky to be stuck with me for their 4 years experience. So my job's not just slap you on the back and I hope to see you at the Cintas Center in May in 4 years' time. Use me as a resource, especially those first couple of months when you're on campus. I get texts all the time, especially since the new class has only been down there for about a week and a half. Hey, Trace, I got this email about, X, Y, or Z. Who do I contact about this? and that simple 30-second text exchange to say, okay, well, I'm walking over there now to take care of this.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I'm actually making a trip down to Cincinnati, and I'm surprising the staff. So I'm making a day trip down there. But I always tell my parents of the students that I work with that when I go to Cincinnati, I send all my parents an email saying, do you have anything for your son or daughter that you'd like for me to take? So I've taken Girl Scout cookies.
Oh my
I've taken
goodness.
basketball shoes for intramurals. So one young lady forgot to pack, and she's involved in some club sports on campus, and she forgot her cleats and a number of other things that she needs to compete. So I'm stopping out at her mom's house tonight to pick it up before I head down there. So you're right, Kristina. It's very much a family atmosphere. We don't want to just admit a student to get the number. We want to admit a student so that they are not only going to be happy at Xavier, they're going to be a graduate at Xavier, and they're going to stay involved in the community for hopefully the rest of their lives.
That's great. Can you, just one last thing, would you share maybe a little bit about some outcomes? Are there any people or things that graduates have done from Xavier that you think are just so impressed? Someone would say, wow, that's pretty cool that person's a Xavier grad.
Well, I think some of the coolest things is, I was an education major when I was in college. So when I first came to Xavier a few years back, I really wanted to kind of see how their program has evolved, in the 25 years time since I've been in college. And I think some of the neatest thing that the School of Education does is the School of Education students run a preschool on campus, specifically for greater Cincinnati families. And it's no charge for the families. So I think that's, especially for the first and second year students, that's a very unique way to get that firsthand experience outside of the classroom. So of course you're taking your educational philosophy classes about theories that have happened hundreds of years ago, but then you can kind of see how that would interact with, students on a day in and day out basis. We have a graduate at Xavier who's developed a moving and storage company. Literally, this young man was a senior last year when all the pandemic stuff hit. So our students had to move off of campus right around St. Patrick's Day, if my memory is serving me correct. And he started his business then. Because again, we have students from all 50 states.
Demand, yeah.
Right. So him and his dad bought a couple of trucks, and they stored stuff for kids that were coming back this fall. And I think that's a pretty unique way. And he's a grad now, and he's taken this to the next level. And he's doing it with all 9 major universities in the city of Cincinnati now. So that's a young man who is getting prepared to graduate, got the rug ripped out from underneath it, and took a very negative situation and turned it into a very positive situation. But you see all kinds of folks. The best part is, with the 27 Jesuit colleges and universities across the country, as a graduate of a Jesuit institution, you have access to their career centers and their business offices at any one of those Jesuit institutions throughout the course of the rest of your life. So let's say, like me, as you know, Kristina, I've had many midlife crises in my life. I've been in education for the first part of my professional career, first 15 or so years. And then I got into the restaurant and bar business for a while. So having those resources available once I figured out that education was the way I wanted to be, and having access to, career centers and career services throughout all the Jesuit schools kind of led my whole professional experience back to Xavier University. So I think that's, very unique to the university. And also, as you said, we take care of our own as much like a family.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely something, if people aren't familiar with, Jesuit schools in general, that's just a common theme. I feel like the Jesuit schools, it really does feel like family. So, and I do like that there's that interconnectedness amongst the Jesuit institutions, which are so different across, there's so many different kinds of Jesuit schools, but in terms of the values and the core of it, I think it's really great to have that connection with all of those other places too. So,
well, and I think the great thing about Jesuit schools is most of them, I think, if my memory serves me correct, I think 25 of the 27 Jesuit schools in the United States are either in a major city or pretty darn close to a major city. So especially for a young person, 18 to 22 years old, you have the opportunity, and in most cases very affordably, to live in another major U.S. city to make connections and even keep expanding your professional circles. I always tell folks, even when I taught at the high school level, it's not who you are, it's who you know oftentimes.
Yep.
Having that, that Jesuit connection often pays off and helps our students even many years after they've graduated from the institution.
Well, I am so appreciative that you took some time to chat with us today. And I do hope that students will be able to get down to campus and see. I've been there, like I said, a couple of times. And as you mentioned earlier, I love the location because it actually, even though it's in, very urban, the campus feels like it doesn't feel too city-like, I guess is what you can feel
Right.
like you're
Grass
kind
and
of,
outdoor basketball
green
courts and
space. It's
volleyball
beautiful.
courts. Right. Yeah,
It
I
really is a
agree.
beautiful place. And so I love that you do have that access to an urban area, but hopefully, students, if you're watching this, if you have an opportunity to do a virtual visit, please do that and connect with Trace because he's awesome and so accessible. So thank you, Trace. I appreciate you taking the time today and hang in there this fall with everything and stay healthy and stay safe.
And again, thank you, Kristina, and best of luck to you guys. And like I said, anything I can do for you or your students, I'm happy to do it at any time.
Awesome. Thank you.